Well, you know what time it is.
All right, everybody, welcome to Bad Wrench Live. This is our live stream that we do once a month on the last week of the month. So this is the last Saturday of the month, which is going to be our new recording time from this point on. We've got some other things going on behind the scenes that it will no longer be on Sundays. It'll be on Saturdays. So Saturday at 1 p.m. Central, we will be doing our live streams, which is the last Saturday of the month. Just to bring you guys kind of up to speed on what's been going on behind the scenes. You guys see some Christmas decoration stuff that I need to work on. So that's going to be some of the stuff that I got going in the background, but not really part of this video, guys. So, all right. Give everyone a little bit of time to filter in here. If you guys got any questions, chat them in down below. I'll help you with your guys' projects. This stream usually goes about an hour, and depending on chat, I usually try to answer everyone's questions, and I also try to help you guys with your projects. So if you guys are stalled out on a project, or you guys don't have information like torque specs or how to get things put back together, I will pull up streams. I also, towards the tail end of the stream, I also do a little bit of news. I still do the news in my live streams. I just don't put up clips on news anymore because it did really get repetitive. I really didn't like talking about the automotive industry as a whole, just because of the direction it was going at the time. And with them kind of dialing back on EV stuff, I really haven't been pushing that side of the news anymore. I still bring you guys news every Saturday when we do these live streams, but I don't do the clips anymore. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. All right, let me check a few things here. Awesome. Yeah, I didn't get this stream posted soon enough for you guys, so notifications didn't go out like they were supposed to. I will be working on a different process for that for the future. So hopefully those notifications will get out sooner. Just checking stream and everything. Awesome. All right, guys. So I'm going to get started on today's topic as you guys file in. If you guys miss anything throughout this stream, feel free to play this back. I leave my live streams up, and I actually have a playlist for them. So you guys can go and check out any of the live streams, check out any of the topics, any of the chats. Sometimes people will ask questions about projects, so it's kind of hard to know exactly what project we're talking about unless you watch the full live stream. But we do talk about other people's projects in there as well. And let's go ahead and roll into today's topic. Before that, let's do announcements. Guys, thank you for all the support. Guys, continue hitting the like button, hit the subscribe button. It really does help build the channel and helps build the community. Plus, we're also trying to grow the channel. I do plan on bringing you guys merch still. The reason I've been holding off on merch is we haven't hit our target goal that I have set for me to put up a store. I'm working on inventory behind the scenes, hats, shirts, tumblers. I'm also working on keychains. So these are all things that I am working with my supplier to get my hands on to be able to build that store. It's taken a little bit of time because we're trying to find sources that work for us. Ultimately, we might have to do like an outsourced page sale where basically my page would link you guys to my sales page. That way I don't have to put up with any of the fees and stipulations for putting up a store. I don't want to pass any more cost on to you guys. I want to get it to you guys as easy as possible. And we're going to try to do as much in-house as possible so I can alleviate that. So that's some of the announcements, guys. We're doing really good. We're getting close. We're not at our target goal of subscribers yet. So if you guys want to see merch, Tell your friends, make sure you guys subscribe. Let's get the subscriber count up. I really need that up to be able to get the draw to put the store up. That's what I'm waiting on. So that's kind of what I'm waiting on from you guys. We'll go from there. I'm sure we will hit it this year. We got really close. We almost hit it this year, but we fell short. So that's what we're waiting on. But guys, let's go ahead and transition into today's topic. All right, so if you guys want, chat in anything you guys got down below, but we're going to get into today's topic of the new project. So you guys are seeing videos that I post Monday, Wednesday, Friday of the Nissan Pathfinder project. That project has actually completed about 2 months ago. What I'm working on now behind the scenes is I'm working on champagne bubbles a little bit because we do have some problems there and some rather big problems. I'll make sure my chat's coming in good for you guys. Sometimes the live stream has not been very good on the chat side of things. Ready to play this back. Okay, it's working. All right, I just had to check that. I've had some audio stuff in the past, so I try to make sure that I get my audio going good for you guys. All right. So our new project is actually big red behind me. This is a 2013 Chevy Silverado that we've done a lot of work to. So I'm going to recap what we've already done. You guys are not seeing a whole lot of the stuff yet. This is a few months out that you guys will start seeing some of the clips and some of the shorter videos. But we've gone through and we've done a few things here. We installed the back vent shades. This truck never had them. And I don't know why they didn't put them on there, but they didn't put them on there. When I first bought the truck, I had a bed liner and undercoating. Poor job done on the undercoating. Absolutely horrendous that a company would do this kind of undercoating job. It's so bad, guys, that I'm doing an undercoating on this in this garage by myself. It was so bad that it was a waste of money. And honestly, $500 was overpaying for what I got. Way overpaying. Basically, only about half of my frame got coated with bed liner. With undercoating. But the whole top side of the frame never got coated. There was no wax sprayed into the frame rails. There was no wax sprayed into the rocker panels, none of that. So I will be doing all of that for you guys in videos. We'll probably do some live stuff with it a little bit so you guys get more of an exposure. And you guys are going to get a sneak peek of behind the scenes stuff here. Also, after I did that bed liner and undercoating and it was such a poor job and I decided to redo the undercoating, I had to go through and decide exactly how I was going to fix this truck, bring this truck back up to life, basically. Truck has 118,000 on it when I got it. It's at about 120 right now. And I've decided to tear into the front suspension. And that really kind of snowballs into what we've got going. So oftentimes when you guys start a project, realize that sometimes that project will go off the rails. And at times, you're going to spend more time getting to where you want to fix than what you are actually doing that repair. And this is one of those times. And before I get into the suspension debacle, let me break down everything else that I've already done to this truck. And I'm going to try to do this in sequence so that you guys can kind of follow what's going on. The first thing I did mechanically was I flushed out the coolant. The reason why is this truck was already over 10 years old, never really looked like it had anything done to it other than maybe spark plugs and wires, and I will get to that in just a bit. Yeah, that is a whole nother mess. Next, Once I did the coolant flush, I put a thermostat in it because I really don't feel like taking it back apart, even though at this point I'm probably going to take it back apart and leak all the fluid out again because I put a stock thermostat in it, meaning that it still gets to 210 degrees. This is a little warm for my liking. I like it around the 180 degrees. I don't like really high temps in my coolant. I want it down. So in order to bring that down, I got to put a different thermostat in it. Because this does have the aluminum block in it with the aluminum heads, I don't want a ton of heat in that engine. It does put a lot of stress on aluminum parts when you're running that hot all the time. So I will be doing that as a separate deal and explaining the thermostat differences, why you might choose to or not to do it. If you can't do tuning, sometimes you don't want to do it. The computer will actually want the engine at a certain temp, and when it doesn't reach that temp, it starts throwing engine codes. Our GMC Jimmy was that way. Crimson Vortec, if you put anything cooler than a 195 in it, it trips the check engine because it's too cold. It thinks that the thermostat has already failed open and it's not working properly. So if you put a 180 in it, throws a check engine light. You can get rid of it by tuning that out or dialing that sensor down to the computer so that it matches up, but that requires you to have the tuning software. I'm still playing around with the tuning software, guys. I don't want to bring you any videos on that. I don't want to drop anything on the tuning software just for that reason. Because if I bring it to you, I want you guys to know how to use it. I never want to put you guys in a position where you're going to do more harm to your vehicle than good. My whole point is to bring you guys the knowledge to work on this stuff and keep your vehicles on the road. If I give you guys tuning software and you guys don't know how to use it, and I don't show you how to use it properly, your vehicle could wind up being nothing more than an oversized paperweight. So we don't want that. Let me double check chats, guys. Got anything? Chat it in. I'll help you guys with your projects. Awesome. Good to see that we have 3 of you in here today. And hopefully the chats will keep growing as we go here. So next, after I did thermostats, guys, I decided it was time to actually do some motor work on this thing. And before I did anything suspension-wise, before I did anything tearing that apart, I'll show you guys that in just a bit. I decided I needed to do a full tune-up on this thing. I needed to clean the throttle body, relearn the throttle body. I bought a different scan tool. You guys will see that scan tool coming up here probably in the next 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure that video is right around the corner after we complete the brakes on the Nissan Pathfinder. I'll show you guys that scan tool that I bought, and it is one of the popular ones. For all my people that are paying attention right now in the live chat, I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek of what that scan tool is. So my live chat people, you guys get a little bit of sneak peek of behind the scenes things. You guys will see projects that I'm currently working on versus what I'm still trying to release short videos of. And the reason I went to the short video content is because my growth here on YouTube is very dependent on my short form content. So if I'm not putting out short form, I won't grow. I had to do that. I had to go through the live and all that and figure out that live is really good for me doing current stuff, but it isn't good for my channel growth. So behind the scenes things, guys, that you get to see right here. We are doing a video based on this right here, this BlockTech 460T. So I will break down some of the things in that video coming up here in a few weeks on that BlockTech scan tool. Guys, this is an extremely affordable scan tool. I believe I got this one for less than 200 bucks. And I was able to relearn throttle body. I'm able to reset all the things that my other scan tool could, plus I have updated software for newer vehicles. My old scan tool, I bought back in 2015. So anything from 2015 on, I had trouble scanning and getting the codes sometimes. I would get codes, but I couldn't do much with it without looking up that code. Where the new one tells me what it is, and it gives me way more features. I can do a lot more as far as even dialing certain things in. I can test certain modules that I wasn't able to test before. I didn't get rid of my old scan tool. This is the pro tip, guys. Never get rid of tools. If you have a scan tool that works really good, don't get rid of it. Don't give it to a friend. Don't pass it off, because there's times that old scan tool will actually do really good and can save you a bunch of time versus hooking up a bigger one. Not only that, but depending on what you're doing, sometimes you need that older scan tool to work on some older things. Meaning that if you have a car that's early 2000s, that scan tool might work better than one that's brand new, like this BlockTech. I don't know how well it's going to do the farther back you go into the early 2000s, because I haven't tried it yet. The closest I have is the '01 GMC Jimmy, and it does work on that, but there is no throttle body to relearn on that. It's simple ABS system, so I don't have to do an ABS brake bleed or anything like that, but the new scan tool will let me do all of that. So throw some wrenches up in the chat if you guys liked some of that behind the scenes content that I just dropped for you guys. Give me ones in the chat, or throw some wrenches. Yeah, let's go with the wrenches. So yeah, that's some of the stuff we got going. Mike C, good to have you in here today. So it's good to see the wrenches flying in the chat. I always like that. Awesome, awesome. All right, so that scan tool is a very powerful tool to have, and it's really important. If you don't have the scan tool, you can't do half the stuff you need to do on modern cars. But you don't need to get carried away and spend $600, guys. $200, and you can get a very powerful scan tool. I know they advertised them like crazy over the holidays. It was insane how much they were giving discounts on it. Before the holiday season, that scan tool was over $400. During the holiday season, you could get it for less than $200. The features that it has are absolutely insane. All right, let's go ahead and get back into this. When I started doing my tune-up on this truck, after I did throttle body relearn, cleaned out the mass airflow sensor, got everything running right, checked my air filter, did my oil change, did an engine oil flush. Let's talk about this engine oil flush just a little bit. Like C asks, is it bi-directional? To a certain point. This gives you some bi-directional control over some modules, but it's not a full bi-directional. A full bi-directional would let me test everything in the car, meaning that I could turn on the wiper motor without turning on the switch. That is a full bi-directional. This bi-directional lets you test whether or not you have oils. It'll let you see what the injector pulses are. It'll let you see what the spark advance is. So the live data, very strong on this. I would say the live data on this is better than the Innova scanner that I had or still have, because I get more information out of this. And I paid way more for the Innova. The Innova scan tool that I bought in 2015, I want to say that was a $600 scan tool. It was crazy expensive for the time. It didn't have the ABS brake bleed. It didn't have relearning tire pressure sensors. It didn't have the deep diagnostics that this one does. But this one, I have noticed a little bit where the live data is strong, but some of the codes are, like, you got to know where to scan to find certain codes with this one. The other one, there was only 4 scans you could do. This one, there's way more scans. So, but to answer your question about the bi-directional, it does give you, you know, plenty of different stuff. If you have a diesel, this allows you to do a DPF reset and a DPF. You can actually do a regen with this. So you could scan or hook this to your diesel truck. You could do a regen, ABS brake bleed, throttle relearn, tire pressure sensor relearn, steering angle relearn, parking brake reset. You'll need that if you're doing any brakes on newer vehicles, because a lot of those, you have to back the piston or back the motor off before you can bring the piston in. Because if you try to force it, you're going to break it. So this allows you to do that to where you can set that, you know, your brakes into service mode. Gives you a battery reset. You only need battery resets, guys, if you're driving a lot of import stuff, because the battery has to be synced to the computer. And that's more of an import style setup. And it even gives you transmission codes, something my Innova scanner did not do. My Innova scanner did not do anything related to transmission. So if I have issues with this 6-speed automatic that's in this truck, I can actually scan this with the block tech. I cannot scan it with my Innova. Does that answer your question, Mike? Yeah, it doesn't clearly say bi-directional, but it does give me control over some of the bi-directional stuff. A lot of your bi-directional scanners, guys, big money, big money. There's guys spending $5,000 into a full bi-directional scan tool from Snap-on. And I can't justify that. Yes, it does make your life a lot easier. So if you're going to do this stuff professionally, having something that does bi-directional will save you a ton of time, because you can go in and shut certain things off. Like, prime example is coils. If you ever need to know if a coil's bad and you have a bi-directional scanner, you can go in and actually shut off the coil so it won't fire that coil. And if it doesn't change and it still idles rough, you're able to work through that. Mike, it does. I didn't mean to throw you off of your tour talk. I was waiting for the Q&A session. Not a problem, man. Yeah, today is just kind of a relaxed day. I'm showing you guys the new project. I'm reading chats and answering questions. It's just meant to help you guys out. Usually on these live streams, guys, when I do these on the last Saturday of every month, it's just kind of a hangout time that you guys get to ask your questions, answer them. I show you guys what I've been working on, where I'm at with projects, and give you guys sneak peeks. That's what this is. So it's kind of a cool kind of hangout time and show you guys where we're at on current projects. You guys won't see this project, honestly, for about another 2 more months, maybe 3. I got enough clips out there right now. It's going to take me a while to start releasing the ones on the truck. So you guys are getting big sneak peeks here. All right, so after I did all of that with the tune-up stuff, it came down to the very important part. I needed to do the rest of the tune-up. And the rest of the tune-up was changing my coils, my wires, and my plugs. I started pulling the coils. They didn't look too bad. You know, they're old. Over 10 years old. They're old. They needed to be replaced. Truck has over 100,000 miles on it. They're old. They need to be replaced. 100,000, guys, is a cutoff for your coils. It's cutoff. 100,000, you need to pull the coils, pull the plugs. I know it can be expensive, especially on this truck because it had the round coils. Anybody who's worked on these trucks already knows if you got the round coils, you're going to pay about $100 a coil, if not more. That's depending on where you buy them from. If you have the square coils, you get by a lot cheaper. They're about 50, 60 bucks a coil. So way different in pricing depending on what kind of coils are on the truck. This one had the round coils. This one has flex fuel. I'm guessing that's why it's got round coils. I don't know the exact science behind the round versus square. I'm pretty sure that it is. If it's flex fuel, it usually has the round coils because it does change the amount of spark it puts out if you're running on E85, which, by the way, I don't ever recommend. Don't do it. Stay away from E85. It's hard on injector seals. It's hard on injectors. It's hard on fuel lines. It rusts everything that's metal. E85 is a very bad fuel. I don't recommend it. And actually now I run 91 octane, non-oxygenated in everything I got. And the reason why is I don't put on enough miles to burn through the fuel fast enough that it could sit in there. And I've talked about this in my storage videos that I've done with you guys. Anytime I store a vehicle, I make sure I ran a full tank of 91 octane in it and through it and refilled it before I park the vehicle. The reason I do this is so that I have non-oxygenated, non-ethanol fuel in the tank. Meaning that if it sits for 6 months, I can go there, hit the key, and it will run just as good as when I put the vehicle away. That is a huge pro tip for you guys. Anytime you guys are doing that kind of stuff. Anytime you're storing a vehicle, anything like that, run 91 non-oxygenated. Don't run 93. 93 is only if you're tuned for it. And the reason I say that is some people go, well, it's non-oxygenated, I could run it. No, you can't. 93 starts getting into basically your street racing fuels, meaning that you're tuned for it and it's meant for higher performance stuff. When I get done building LS Goat, I don't know if you guys, I'm pretty sure you guys see it when I start my videos all the time, but I'm gonna go ahead and flip my title screen up for you guys quick. Right in this upper corner up here, this is LS Goat. LS Goat is an 04 Pontiac GTO. And as I'm finding out, GTOs are starting to become very hard to come by. So if we can build this car right, it will be a really good car. And even now, it's pretty good, but it's lacking power. It does not have the power that I need. And honestly, I have to be north of 500 for a vehicle to be at least fun to me. I've played around with enough stuff and I've played around with enough cars that if I'm not over that 500 horsepower, it seems like the car is dead to me because I can run the car harder than the car should be ran because it just doesn't have the power. So LS Goat is getting an engine upgrade. I don't know which way we're going to go with that. That's in the future. That's pretty far out. This year we're doing a lot of testing and tuning. I want to dial that car in, get everything straight, know exactly what I need to replace. So when I start stripping that car down, I will have all the information I need to be able to start tearing it down and start fixing it right. The last thing you want to do is go into a project and not have a plan. And I'm going to talk about that on this truck in just a little bit. Let me check everything. Awesome. All right. Doing pretty good on views today. That's good. All right. So throw wrenches up in the chat again if you guys want me to pop the hood on here and show you what I did with the coils and the plugs. Throw your wrenches up. Yeah, so when I was going through and pulling those coils off, pulling the wires, before I did all of that and I tore it down, I was doing another engine oil flush. I was idling the truck and I noticed the wires dancing differently than the engine, meaning that they were bouncing. That already set off alarms in my head. something's wrong here and I need to know why. So rather than continuing driving the truck with the way it was acting, I switched myself back into Crimson Vortec because we got champagne bubbles back from the dealership. You guys are going to see clips on all that. I run the dealership through the mill. How we were treated on our Kia was not right. It was really, really bad. If you guys want to hear that story, give me ones in the chat. I know I'm already asking for wrenches, so the wrenches are to see under the hood. One is to hear what's going on with champagne bubbles or what happened with it. Okay, and then next, yeah. So I parked it, brought this thing in, and I started on it. I took my time, pulled my coils off, noticed my valve covers were leaking. I pulled my valve covers off, put new valve covers on it, put valve cover gaskets in it. And the reason I don't reuse, he wants to see underneath the hood. Yeah. All right, Mike, I'll show you guys in just a bit after I get done with a little bit of explanation before I pop the hood, because it'll make sense to you what I did. So the valve covers, I don't reuse valve covers if I have to pull them. The reason why is GM valve covers have baffles in them, and you cannot get those baffles out to clean behind there. It's not possible to clean those out properly. So if a vehicle has over 100K on it, I'm doing coils, I'm doing all this, I'm having to replace the valve cover gaskets, I change valve covers every single time. And the reason I do is they're not that much more expensive. They come with the seals, and then I know they're not going to leak and they're not going to be gummed up. So that's why I do it. So did all that, took it apart, took my wires off. I was starting to pull my spark plugs out, and I could take them out with my bare hands. I could thread them out with my fingers. That's how loose my spark plugs were. After pulling all the plugs, I looked at them. They looked okay, looked like they might have been running a little rich, which makes sense if it's pulling air in through the spark plug holes. So I took the time, pulled them all out, put new ones in, actually torqued them to 18 inch-pounds, guys. Anytime you're going to do spark plugs, make sure you torque them down. Not torquing them down, going to have failures. So make sure you torque those down. Once I put all that back in there, I put the coils back in, buttoned everything up, fired it up. This thing ran like a champ. And when I mean like a champ, it ran flawlessly. Plenty of power, throttle response was there. There's one more thing that was causing a little bit of lag. Anyone that knows these trucks knows about the V4 four-cylinder mode and the active fuel management. This is a massive problem all the way across the board, and many people absolutely hate this feature, including myself.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm usually far more composed. I'm just a little bit absolutely livid.
So in order to fix that, I actually got a product that deletes out the V4 mode without having to tear the engine down, without having to put a camshaft in it, without having to do a DOD delete. It was simply plug this into my OBD2 port, done. No more four-cylinder mode as long as that's plugged in. Now, what that does is it plugs up your port so you can't scan unless you unplug it and plug your scan tool in it. But when you're driving down the road, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to be running down the road with your scan tool in that port. So I plugged it into the port, but I bought one that doesn't drain the battery. Here's the big secret. There's only one product on the market that you can plug in to get rid of the active fuel management on these trucks that doesn't drain the battery, and it will cost you about $140. Once you plug that in, it's done. You don't have to worry about it. You can leave it plugged in, and you won't have to worry about the four-cylinder mode. You won't have to worry about a collapsed lifter, and you won't have to worry about the active fuel management kicking in. You are in 8-cylinder mode all the time, which If we're buying these trucks, that's what we want them for. We don't want to lose half our cylinders. That's the one thing that ticked me off. Why the only reason I would have considered a 4-cylinder Colorado, because they weren't shutting cylinders off. In my mind, that's a bad engine. That's going to cause some problems. Let me go ahead and pop the hood, because Mike threw wrenches. And he threw a lot of them. So you guys owe Mike a thank you. Let me grab the keys. Okay, pop the hood to make things a lot easier for you guys. I could show you through the suspension, but that's getting into a topic we're going to talk about here in just a little bit. So what you guys are going to see here is a fully cleaned up engine bay. And for the most part, everything underneath here is already done. So here we go. You guys will also notice that I did an alternator and serpentine belt. This is pretty standard. I usually do the tensioners and idlers at the same time. But there it is, guys. There is the magic. So, brand new valve cover, brand new coils, brand new wires, and brand new spark plugs. That adds a lot of styling to underneath that engine. As I zoom out, you guys are starting to see just how good that looks with that all completely done. And with all that stuff tuned up and ready to rock and roll, I drove the truck for a little while like that. All right, let me set you guys back down. I don't want to give you guys vertigo by bouncing this camera around so bad. Yeah, it looks really good underneath there. It really does. I like the way it looks. I like the way the truck sounds. So with the engine tuned up and everything ready to go, there was only a few things left that I had to do before I was going to park this thing and fix the poor undercoating and the suspension that I'll be talking about here in just a bit. Number one, I wanted to do an LED upgrade on this thing. I wanted to upgrade the taillights, the headlights, my cargo light, all of it. I wanted it all LED. So I went through and I did all that. I did not change the lenses. I kept stock lenses. The only thing I did was upgrade the reverse light, LED, license plate light, LED, cargo light, LED, headlights, and fog lights, LED. The reason I did this is I want this truck to be bright and I want people to see it. The worst thing that can happen is when you don't have lights that work, it's annoying backing up a truck that has stock incandescent bulbs in it because you can barely see behind you. With these LEDs, when I light it up, I can see everything around me through my mirrors, which is what I want. I don't want to fight to see. And I don't do that with this truck any longer. So the LED needed to be done. Next, I needed an exhaust that actually sounded good. I couldn't stand the stock exhaust sound. It really bugged me. So what I did was what we call a muffler and resonator delete. And yes, that means this truck is technically straight piped after the catalytic converters, meaning that after the cats, there's nothing restricting the exhaust. It snaps when you first start it up. You can hear it just pop right off. Kind of loud to the neighbors, but honestly, I don't drive the truck enough to care. And if I did, and it's in the garage, I still don't care because it's going to muffle the sound anyway. Now, Why do a muffler delete and a resonator delete? Number one, resonators get really hot. They add a lot of heat to the exhaust. That whole process is technically designed to burn off any catalyst, but if the catalyst got through the catalytic converters, you need new catalytic converters. That's not the problem. So I don't like having resonators. Resonators are a massive engine restrictment. They restrict the horsepower dramatically. Pulling the muffler out is the same thing because it's fiberglass packed mufflers. They hold moisture, they rot, they fail because they get rusty because of the restriction and the condensation that is held within the fiberglass. These I delete out every single time. If I am forced to run a muffler because it sounds horrible, which has happened on Crimson Vortex. Crimson Vortex sounded nasty. It sounded like the worst 4-cylinder, wide open POS you could ever think of. And we were forced to put in a resonator muffler, meaning that it's a muffler, but it only has baffles in it, or what they call a baffled muffler. Baffled mufflers work to change the tone so it doesn't sound so bad without restricting airflow so much. It still restricts airflow. If you can go straight pipe, that's the best way without having restrictions. In the stock configuration, this truck has probably about 305 to maybe 310 horsepower. It's not using all of that because of the V4 mode, active fuel management, all of that slows it down. Also, the exhaust restriction slows it down. Remember, horsepower is built by air in, air out. If you can get the air in, but you can't get the air out, you're losing horsepower. If you can get the air out, but you can't get the air in, you can't produce higher horsepower. It won't work. You don't have even flow in, out. So, like I said, on our GTO, we're going to have to change the airflow in, we're going to have to change the airflow out, and we're going to have to put some big parts in it to get that power up where I want it. I say all of that because when I did the active fuel management delete on this, or the V4 mode, and I removed the restriction in the exhaust, the only area that I have any concern with airflow is now going to be in. What they don't tell you is the stock air boxes on GMs actually flow more than what they need to. The only time you run into issues is if you have the really large baffles. Now this one does. So at some point, I'm going to be doing the pipe delete on this. I'm going to bring you guys up so you can understand what I'm explaining to you guys. So underneath that plastic cover right there, there is a big plastic bar that goes back. That is a silencer. That piece in front, right there, is also a silencer. By removing that air restriction, that will flow much better. I say that because you don't need to put in a cold air / warm air intake setup. And oftentimes putting in that setup causes you to lose fuel mileage. If you're going to go with a cold air intake, you need to make sure it's in a sealed box. That box is where you generate the cold air so that your engine constantly gets the coldest air possible because it pulls fresh air from outside. Any air pulled from underneath your engine hood could be as high as 180 degrees. You don't want that much heat getting pulled into the engine. Your engine's actually going to cut back the amount of fuel because you're not able to get enough cold air in to where it will increase the fuel going into the engine. That's where your power is. That's where your real power is. Oh. So, now that I've got the engine all set up, got LEDs in it, got my exhaust done, I'm getting close, really close. And then I decide the name of this truck is Big Red. Big Red is on a stock suspension. not very fitting for a truck called Big Red. My brother had a truck very similar to this. His was an '07. Same cab style, same color. His had a lift. And his had a really big lift, bigger than I cared to run. So what am I doing? All right, guys, this is what I'm doing. This is where we currently are. So you're looking at that going, there's a lot of pieces missing there. And you'd be right. I'm going to be showing you guys my lift here in just a little bit. I'm going to show you guys some of the complications that I had. These are things you guys that the average people, you guys are in my life. You guys are getting the sneak peeks. Most people aren't going to see this for months because that's how far out I am on my videos. It might be summertime before they see the shorts on this truck. But you guys are seeing it right here, right now. First thing we did is we took measurements. This is how you do a suspension setup. This is how you do the math. First of all, you want to measure everything out. Start all four corners, measure from here to the ground. You'll do that here. You'll do that in the back. You'll do it on the other side. You'll do it on the passenger side. Measure all four corners. Once you know that measurement, you can then decide how far you want to go. One thing I don't want to do, I don't want the same lift that my brother had. He had a 4-inch lift in his truck. Don't get me wrong, it looked good, but you were forced to buy new tires and rims just to make the setup look good. Problem was the rims and tires that were bought rubbed. I hate when a suspension rubs. If your tires are rubbing, it means you didn't do your measurements properly, and that's what you got. Do your math right, and make sure you put the right tire combination, won't rub. So that's what I'm working on. After taking the measurements, I figured out, here's the deal. The front of this truck is 2 inches lower than the back of this truck, meaning the back sits up 2 inches higher. I don't like a raked look to a truck. I don't care which way it's raked, whether it's nosediving or whether it's scooping air. This is a California squat. We don't want to see any of this anywhere near our trucks. This is not only dangerous, but it's stupid. We're going to put the most expensive part of the lift in the front, but we're not doing anything with the back. And you can't buy these trucks because most of them are just hammered on POS trucks that are not worth buying from the person who had them. Because technically all you would have to do is somebody already spent the majority of the money in the front of the truck. All you'd have to do is put the blocks in the back and put new shocks in. You had a truck, oftentimes with an 8-inch lift. I would call that one of these sound effects, but I call it one of these because those trucks have been hammered on and beat on. And most of the time, they're about to fall apart. Plus, oftentimes when they do the stuff in the front, they do it cheaply, they don't do things right. You'll find things welded in that were not supposed to be there. Oftentimes they don't put proper parts in them and they're about to fail. So if you guys are ever looking at California lean trucks, don't do it because most of the time they're going to break. The quick notion is buy one of those, put a rear lift kit in it and you're done. Wrong. You can't do that because they've already mutilated this truck to where that theory will not work. So, check everything, guys, quick. I like to keep an eye on how the stream is doing health-wise throughout. It's doing really good this time. I changed some of my sound stuff. So I used to have some sound issues that would throw weird things going on, and I fixed that to where that's not an issue. So, awesome. Let's check it out. All right, guys, so here we go. What am I doing for my lift? Here's what I decided to do. I decided to go with a 2-inch block. The 2-inch block will level the truck. If I like the look of it, I can leave it alone. I don't need to go any farther than the 2-inch level. Let's say the front end sits up a little bit. I have some shocks that I'll show you guys in just a bit that would push the back end up about a 1/2 inch. So it'll level it back out if it doesn't quite look right. So I can fix that. I also bought a 1-inch block. The 1-inch block would go in the rear, bringing it up 1 inch. I then also looked at the possibility of adding another 1-inch lift up front underneath the strut. I'll show you guys that in just a bit. Mike's got a chat here. Honestly, around me, I would never buy a lifted truck. I've seen how the trucks are treated. Yes, 9 times out of 10 guys don't ever buy lifted trucks. They're just trashed on. They're not treated right. Oftentimes the suspensions are half beaten and broken. And it's been passed through 6 different owners, most of them young kids. Don't get me wrong, I did my own stupid stuff when I was a young kid. I wouldn't be here today doing the stuff I'm doing and showing you guys stuff had I not been that young, dumb kid. So I had my time, but I never, ever did the squatted trucks, ever. And I never would. Now, playing around with sports cars, oh, absolutely. Built a few Mustangs, played with a Firebird or 2, Camaro, Corvettes. So I've had my time with fun cars. That's why I tell you guys, if it ain't over 500 horsepower, it's not going to impress me. I'm not going to feel like the car is fun. And that's the problem when you get into this stuff and you start dealing with higher horsepower stuff. At a certain point, stock horsepower is just not enough. It feels boring to you. You can push the car 10 times harder than what the car was meant to be, and you're going to break it. So what I'm going to do is fix it so it can handle what I want to throw at it, to the point that I might say, okay, maybe this is a little too much. And that's, to me, to get to that point, I need at least 500. I don't want to be over 600. The reason why, street application, 600 is too much. You can't control it on the street. After 600, you start having a whole bunch of traction issues on asphalt where it's too hard to get it to dial in. 500 can also be a little squirrely, but still manageable. So that's what I'm aiming for. Over 500, under 600. That's what I'm aiming for on LS Goat. Mike, squatted ship boxes are ugly. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. It's just a waste of what could be a good truck, you know? It takes all the potential out of the truck, which is why I absolutely despise when they do it. Most of them do it for internet crap anyway, to be honest with you. They're doing it for reaction. That's what our car culture has become, and I absolutely hate it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm usually far more composed. I'm just a little bit absolutely livid.
So yeah, I get really frustrated at the car community when they do street takeovers and squatted trucks. I really do think that it's destroying the car culture. And the reason it's happening is because that's all that people can get their hands on. They're not making cars nowadays for us to be able to build big horsepower vehicles. And if you do, you got to have a ton of money to do it. The sad thing is, I'm going to probably have way too much money stuck in the motor of the GTO to get it where I need it to be. And that's not the end of it. The motor is one component. The clutch is going to be another. Rebuilding the transmission is going to be another. Making sure my gears are going to hold, that'll be another. Making sure I don't blow my CV axles out, that'll be another. You got to go from one all the way through to make sure that when you start thrashing on the car, you're not going to grenade pieces. That takes time to work bugs out. And you got to be willing to spend the money to buy the right parts. You guys are going to see that process. I'm going to try my best to go through it top to bottom before I let it first hit the street. And some of that is in the shakedown that we're going to be doing this summer. This summer, I'm going to be shaking that car down. I want to know where its weak points are. I want to know where I have to improve, where I have to strengthen. The GTO is a great platform. It basically is the heart of a Corvette and the tuning from Pontiac. So it really is the best of both worlds. It's light, it doesn't take much to get it up and moving, and the car hauls. It has, this is something about the GTO that most people don't know. And once I say this and it does get out, people are going to be looking for these cars. GTOs have one of the most perfect weight transfer. Now, I didn't say weight ratio. I said weight transfer. So, weight ratio is the ratio from the front of the vehicle to the back of the vehicle. The closer to 50-50 you can get, the better that car will handle in higher corners, speeds, everything. It will stay balanced on the road. Getting a 50-50 weight ratio car is very hard. There's only a few that are made, and most of them are the Japanese style cars. So if you don't have one of those, you won't get close to that 50-50 ratio. Now, what I'm talking about is weight transfer. When you mash the pedal, it transfers weight back, meaning that even though it's not, if you put it on scales, the front end is going to be heavier on a GTO because the engine's sitting up there. But if it's an all aluminum engine, it's going to be a lot lighter. Transfer case or transmission, not transfer case, transmission is all aluminum other than the gears. So that's light. It's lighter in the front than some of your older muscle cars. But it's not 50-50. You still have more weight up front. But when you mash the pedal on a Pontiac GTO, it actually transfers weight back. This is why you feel that pullback sensation when you're in a GTO, because it forces all that weight to the back and actually lifts the front. This car has a lot of potential. And the reason I say that is even the little bit of driving I've done with the car, I've had it out a few times. We actually brought it back from out of state and I was able to drive it for about a good 3 hours. I was getting closer to home and I felt a little bit more confident with the car. So I was like, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and let it rip once. I want to know I bought a good car. So when I was close, I was at 60 miles an hour in 6th gear. It is a manual. So 60 miles an hour, 6th gear. I'm like, budget, let's try it. I go all the way up to 3rd. As soon as I hit 3rd, I hear the tires chirp, front end come up because of that weight transfer that I talked about, and the car was gone. Before I could even look down, I had already jumped 20 miles an hour in that short few seconds. So that's what weight transfer does for you. It doesn't have to be 50-50 weight ratio, but if you have excellent weight transfer, you have a pretty scary car. Then you have a very competitive car, especially in a street setup. You can't ask for better weight transfer on a street car. You can't. Especially interior, stereo, electronics, all of that still in the car. You can't. And you start getting rid of that stuff, and I'm telling you right now, anyone who guts an interior and pulls 90% of the electronics out of a car, you're a race car, you're not a street car. I know that just ticked off a lot of racers, but you're not a race car or you're not a street car if you do not have a street interior. Meaning you should be able to open the doors on that car and you can't tell that the interior was messed with. If I open the door and I see race seats, I see a cage, I see all of this racetrack stuff, you're a race car. You're not a street car. Yeah, I know that just pissed off all the racers. Everyone wants to claim to be a street car, but the minute you lose your interior, you're not a street car. You're not. Nope. The minute you dump your interior, you are a race car. All right, let's get on to showing you guys the suspension setup that I've been talking about. And I want to talk about the problem that you have anytime you do a truck suspension. So what I'm holding in my hand is the most important component to a suspension on a pickup. And it's, for the most part, it's where your lift is either happening or not happening. And it does require a few other components. I'm going to explain that in just a bit. But here, this is our front strut. You guys will notice something on the top of here. This is my 2-inch leveling kit. Now, stock, there are little nubs on the top of these bolts. So you have to shear the nubs off and then run the bolts down tight to actually mount these plates. This plate will give me a 2-inch lift. You can't run the stock A-arms with this on here. It won't fit. Don't even try it. It won't work. You have to replace the upper control arms, meaning that you have to pull the upper control arm off. You have to run one that's set for the lift. So the arms that I bought, which I'll show you guys here in just a bit, this is the strut going in with the 2-inch level on top. I'm going to put this in first, see how the truck sits. If I like the look, I'm going to leave it. If I don't like the look, I may try to put in the shocks that I'm about to show you in just a bit, because the shocks might make it look better, but they may not fix it completely. If I still think the truck is sitting a little too low, let's say I want a little bit more lift. Let's say, you know what, it doesn't have enough being leveled. I want to go a little bit higher. I want to bring it up. I don't want a 4-inch. That's what my brother had. I don't like the truck on a 4-inch. It's just, it got to be almost too much and too much of a pain to keep suspension components in it. Some of it is I think of how it was built. The person that put it together, I think, did it wrong. They didn't do it right. And when my brother went through and tried to fix it, he didn't know some of the tricks that I know about the suspension now. One last thing I need to cover. When you put this top plate on, what it does is it rotates your bolt pattern. So if this, sorry, I had to look at the bottom. If this is your front bolt, so let me turn it, driver's side, front bolt of the bottom of that perch where it holds into place. This is your front bolt, these two are in the back. What happens is once you put this plate on, it flips the bolt pattern. When the bolt pattern gets flipped, guys, the bottom side becomes a problem. And the reason that the bottom side is a problem is these bottoms, do it this way. These bottoms have a canter to it. This canter is designed for a reason. This has to be in the right position. In order to get this in the right position, what we have to do is we have to turn this 180 degrees because this has to match our bolt pattern on top. So the way this is designed is this is designed to kick forward. Just like you guys are seeing it now, designed to kick forward. And this bolt has to be facing forward. This makes or breaks a good suspension. When somebody does this wrong, the suspension is already in trouble. And the reason I say this is if that bottom post is not facing the right way to the bottom control arm, meaning that if it's not going to sit flush against that lower control arm with these up inside there and tightened down, what it does is preloads the suspension because you're putting undue pressure on this. But it's not just here that you're putting the undue pressure. You're putting it inside the cylinder of the shock, which will wreck the bearings and seals, causing this strut to fail prematurely. So if you want to run any kind of suspension upgrades beyond a stock strut, you need to compress this spring and turn this 180 degrees if you're going to run a canted bolt pattern spacer. Give me ones in the chat if all of that made sense to you guys. Because what I'm about to explain to you next, I need to know that you guys understood that part of it. Give me ones in the chat if that all made sense. So, ones if everything I just said made sense to you guys. I'm not putting this down yet because there's something else I have to explain with this. Awesome, thanks, Mike. All right, so now that I've explained turning your, getting this turned in the right spot, lining up your bottom, all of that. When it comes time to putting it in, you're going to need to put upper control arms in it. You have to. The stock control arms will not let you put any kind of lift. Zero lift. You can add a little bit of spacer here and maybe get a ½ inch, maybe an inch, but that's it. Anything more than an inch, anything more than an inch on a stock suspension, that's all you're gonna get. That's it. Your upper control arm will not give you the movement and will not keep things in line unless you change that upper control arm. So when I go to do this, if I don't think that just leveling it is enough, I'm going to add another spacer underneath here. This spacer is for a 1 inch, giving me another inch of lift. This is where I would get my 1 inch up front, and I'm going to add 1 inch in back. So technically, if it's level, all I'm going to do is bring the whole truck up 1 inch. That should give me enough tire clearance, give the truck enough look, and give the truck way more ground clearance than it had stock. So, new struts, that's one piece of this puzzle. Next piece of this puzzle, I wanted to show you guys this, and I'll show you this. The last piece will be the rear shocks. When you go to lift a suspension up front on GM or anything with a coilover setup, your stock upper control arm or where your alignment keys are will not work. Stock one will not work. It's got to go. This is what you need. This is a tubular upper control arm. It is designed with how it's created in the certain points and pivot points and ball joint alignment point to make sure that your suspension is going to be correct. Without this, I can't put that block in there. Without this, I can't put the plate on the top of the strut. I can run a stock setup. I can maybe add some washers to some grade 8 washers. Please use grade 8 if you're going to try to wash your trick. Let's say you just need to bring it up just a bit. You can add some washers on top of that strut. Use grade 8 washers, guys. The other ones crush from the weight. You don't want anything that crushes because it could crush uneven, pitch the strut. You hit a bump, blows the strut out. Don't run anything but grade 8 stuff on anything suspension-wise. It's not safe. But this is going to be the key to getting that block in there and then possibly adding the 1 inch to the lift. This you have to buy. These will run you about another $100 for these setups. And you want one with the greasable ball joint. You also want one that has a replaceable ball joint. So this one I can replace. Let's say something happens and this ball joint goes bad. The arm is still good. Nothing's rusted. Everything's in good shape, but the ball joint just, for whatever reason, it goes out. You want one that's interchangeable or one that you can change out. So this one can be changed out. You pull the C-clip that hides right down in here. Pull that C-clip out, and then you pound this out from the back side. And it'll pop right out. Putting the new one in might be more of a pain, but it can still be done. And oftentimes they make adapters that you can put here, just run the bolt down and it will just pull this into place. Then just remember to put the C-clip in the top when you're done. You need that C-clip in there because otherwise it doesn't have the pressure that it needs to actually keep the ball joint in place. So if you're buying these arms, always check, make sure the C-clip is there. There's also a dust cap to keep stuff out of here. You want to put that dust cap on. This has polyurethane bushings and grease zerks. So make sure you use the right grease for this and grease these up after you put these in here. Otherwise they squeak really bad. My brother's truck squeaked horribly bad because his ball joints failed and his were not changeable. Because when they bought their arms, they weren't changeable ball joints. Now that they've got changeable ones, we can change those out. So a little bit better setup. All right, for the last piece of the suspension, guys, when it comes down to the rear, if I don't like the way it looks, let's say the back sits just a little low. And I mean a little low. I'm not talking a lot, I'm talking just a little bit. There's a trick that I've done with several vehicles to fix my rear suspension. So the trick to fix my rear suspension is coilover rear shocks. And what these are designed to do is keep upward pressure so that the vehicle doesn't sag in the back. What this can also do is if you're ever pulling trailers, as you increase the weight on this, the spring helps keep it up. So really good setup if you're going to pull trailers. And honestly, guys, at some point, I might need to get a trailer. And the reason I say this is I'm looking at expanding into working on customer cars where I might have to go pick up their car, so I might need a trailer. Building this truck so that the truck will pull a trailer. It's already got helper bags in the back, but you don't want to use helper bags for suspension. You don't want to have to keep air in helper bags. You only want to be able to put air in it if you're loading something heavy and you just need to keep the back from sagging. The reason you don't want the back of the suspension to sag when you're pulling a trailer is it puts a lot of undue stress on the back of the truck. Again, we're talking weight transfer. So it doesn't transfer the weight forward enough on the truck or the frame of the truck. It's putting it all on the back end. We don't want that at all. So this is one of the last pieces to this suspension puzzle. And this will help level out the rear without us having to get too carried away. But when it does come down to it, if I still think the truck sits too low, I'm going to have to lift the entire truck 1 inch more. And that's where the suspension is at with this truck. This is where I'm at with this one. One of the small things I did is I did red LEDs in the interior, nothing too big. I don't drive the truck at night very much, so I don't need to have bright white in the interior. So I went with red LEDs for my dome lights and my map lights. So that's about all I got for that. Throw some wrenches up if you guys liked this breakdown today of this project and kind of where we're at with our current stuff. This was, throw some wrenches up if you guys liked how we did this one today. All the content that we gave you guys. So a lot of this, we're trying to keep bringing you guys a lot more content for the future. I got a lot of stuff coming, guys. A lot of stuff coming. I'm also going to work on dropping the info for these shows a lot sooner so you guys have the notifications. It didn't work out this week. I was really jammed up. Yep, we're going to do a Q&A session now, and Q&A session will also get into news if you guys want. So if you guys want news, we'll do news as well, but we will also be doing Q&A as of right now. So let's transition over. All right, guys, Q&A, news if you guys want it. I'll break down some articles. So if you guys got any, chat in the Q&As right now. If you guys got anything, you guys want to see news, chat in news. I'll get on that. Q&A and advice session, if that, yep, we're good with that. As long as everyone else is, we're good with that. We can go ahead and do Q&A and new session. Absolutely. Let's go ahead and chat those in. I know there's not a lot of people in here. I'm hoping to grow this live a lot more. And as I start doing more automotive repair for people near me, we might grow the chat more. So that's one thing I'm looking at as well. My goal is I want to get this truck done so I can actually get around to help people. Having a good pickup to be able to go get things and pick stuff up is going to be really important. So this is basically going to be our shop truck. And then the GTO is our shop car. And our shop car, we're going to do a lot more fun stuff with. So we're going to push the envelope with that car a lot more. I'm going to build that car the way I want it. And it's going to be my toy. No doubt about it. It is a toy. We got rid of Silver Swine, which was an 04 Toyota Tacoma. We got rid of that for a reason. And I got rid of that because I wanted something that was more fun to drive. If I was going to store something for winter, I wanted something that was more fun. And the GTO definitely fit that bill. All right. Yeah, go ahead and chat in any of your questions. You guys can ask me anything. I'll be completely open and honest with you guys on stuff. I got nothing to hide. All right, we got one from Mike. Let's take a look. I may have an opportunity to buy an 2011 15 Silverado. Anything I should be worried about? Okay, so 2011 1500 Silverado. It's going to be very identical to this truck. Very identical. Basically 07 to 2013 is the same body style, same transmission. Oftentimes there's very minor changes in the motors. First thing that I would recommend is, depending on if it's over 100,000, you're going to be looking at a tune-up. Most people don't do them, so be prepared. You're going to spend money on a tune-up. That's number one. Number two, you're going to be flushing and changing every single fluid if it's over 100,000. Transmission, engine, everything. Go through all the fluids. Get them straightened out. Number three, look at your brakes. It has the 4.3. Okay, so on the 4.3, it's identical to basically the old school 5.7s missing two pistons. That's when you break it down motor wise, the 4.3 didn't change much. My GMC Jimmy has a 4.3 in it, and it literally is the 350 missing two pistons. Same stroke, same bore, just shorter crankshaft, missing two pistons. That's it. On that, you might have to watch for coolant leaks though, because those had hoses that were on the back side of the engine, and oftentimes those hoses either got corroded or had issues where the seals started leaking. So watch for coolant leaks on the 4.3. So that'll be another one. You could toss that one in as number 4. Make sure you don't have anything leaking when you buy it. If you do, don't walk away. The 4.3 is going to feel a little anemic though. It's a little underpowered for a half-ton truck. The 5.3 is a much better platform for a truck, but if what you're looking at is mostly a clean truck, well-maintained, and you're buying it because you know it's going to last a long time, then you kind of got to buy that truck because of what it is. But that being said, if you had the same, literally the same truck, but it had the 5.3 rather than the 4.3, I think I would go with the 5.3 all day long. Because the 5.3, not only does it have more parts, it also is a stronger built truck. The 4.3 is going to have a smaller engine that you're going to have to push harder to get it to move the same weight. And not going to be very good for trailering. It won't be. If you're going to trailer anything, you're going to need the 5.3. That being said, because it's the 4.3, it's probably not going to have the cylinder shut off like the 5.3 does. So you won't have to worry about putting in the AFM delete or V4 mode delete. Not only that, but if you do have that, you're going to have to find the product that works for you on the 4.3. I'm pretty sure the one I bought was only for 5.3s. Yep, that's where I'm at. It has 43K and has been well maintained. Not really looking for trailering. Okay, if you're not looking for trailering, it is what it is. It's super low miles and you're buying it because you're going to keep it a long time. So yeah, basically you're low miles yet to where you shouldn't have to super worry about doing a full tune-up, but definitely get the fluids changed. Most of them are beyond the service life. So service life comes in 2 intervals, time and mileage. Anytime you meet either one of those, you're supposed to swap the fluid or change it out. For coolant, it's usually 5 years. Engine oil is usually 6 months. Transmission is usually 5 years. Differentials is usually 7, possibly 10. And then obviously there's mileages to all of this. So the mileages are usually different too. But those are the main service intervals for the fluids that are in most vehicles. Brake fluid is usually 5 years. You're supposed to change that out every 5 years just so you don't build up corrosion. What happens is it gets water in the fluid, and if the water content gets too high, it starts rusting out the components in the brakes. So it'll rust brake lines, it'll rust calipers. It just causes a whole bunch of issues. So you can buy test strips to make sure that your brake fluid is in good shape. That might be something you'll have to change. Right, I would probably change all the fluids just to be on the safe side. Yeah, I probably would, because at this point you're far beyond the service interval for years wise. Mileage, no, you're not. Coils, you're not there yet. Spark plugs, you're not there yet. But if you notice that it's idling rough, clean your throttle body, clean your mass airflow sensor. It's going to have one. Clean those 2 items, do a relearn on it. Once you've done the relearn, if it still idles a little rough, then do your coils and plugs. But don't do them, just don't do them because you're going to do them. You either do them because it's mileage, or you do them because there's other issues there. But yeah, I think you might have a really good lead on a truck. I mean, yeah, it kind of stinks that it's the 4.3, and I would never try to do a swap on it. Don't ever get carried away and try to do a swap and switch it to a 4.3 or put an LS setup in it. You're going to have to buy a whole donor truck, and that donor truck needs to be in really good shape mechanically for you to even attempt it. And most of the time, for most people's time and skill level, I would not suggest it, because you do need to rip about 70% of the truck apart. Interior, motor, engine bay, everything has to be gutted on both trucks, carefully swapped on at least one truck. It is a massive, massive project. Not something I would tell the average person to try to tackle. 4.3, the only way you're going to really gain anything performance-wise is you are going to need to free up the exhaust, get that to flow a little bit freer. That will help. Anything swapping is outside of my wheelhouse. Yeah, not a problem, not a problem. So yeah, when it comes down to it, you've got literally the same platform that you see behind me. So the suspension setup that I'm doing, if it's four-wheel drive, everything I'm doing, you could do. Everything I do to this truck, it's going to be the same on yours, just components might be moved around a little bit. Alternator will be in a little different spot. Belt tensioners might be, you know, slightly different. For the most part, it's all going to be the same body though. So if I do wheel liners, like I'm looking at doing fender flares on this, then shades are all going to be the same. Tinting doesn't matter what vehicle you got, it's all the same. But yeah, anything that you see wrong with that truck, I can easily do a video based on my truck, as long as it's more body and cosmetic stuff. Once you get into the hard nuts and bolts of that 4.3, I'm not going to be able to like dial it in. I just need something to haul things in. It's a single cab, so I get the long bed and it's priced under 10K. Yeah, if you're looking to just haul stuff in the box, the 4.3 will be more than enough. I know a guy who has the newer body style than this. He has the 4.3. He uses it for his business at Napa, hauling automotive parts. It's great fuel mileage. I mean, no doubt about it, great fuel mileage. Is the one you're looking at, is it four-wheel drive or two-wheel drive? Most of those that were near there though, usually those were only two-wheel drive. So if you got two-wheel drive, it's a little bit different setup in the suspension, probably not worth lifting. Thought so. Absolutely thought so. Okay. So yeah, the most you're going to probably be doing is maybe a front wheel bearing. That tends to be problems that normally come up with every vehicle. Just happens when it happens and you got to fix them. As far as anything else, your motor isn't going to be super strong. So you're not going to generate a bunch of torque and break a bunch of stuff. The long bed helps to haul things. If it is a fairly clean truck, I would consider maybe taking it and getting a good spray and bed liner put in it, because that will help protect your investment. A good, strong, thicker bed liner will actually keep you from banging that up on the inside. It just looks horrible. When I bought this truck, it didn't have a bed liner. The floor of this bed was just scratched up really bad. After I put the bed liner in it, it literally made all the difference on this truck. Yes, it came with a tonneau cover, but I had to fix the tonneau cover on this one. I forgot to say that in the beginning, but those videos will be coming up. Those dropped already. Fixing the tonneau cover I already did. And those short videos are already out there. But yeah, I think you possibly got a good truck. Just thoroughly test drive it. Look for those coolant leaks. I know some of the 4.3s had weird cooling routes, so check for any coolant leaks. It has a bed liner. Nice. That brings me to another question. Best spray for underbody. Oh, you're beating me to the punch here, man. All right. So I'm going to tell you a nasty secret about the undercoating industry. Let me grab some. So what the undercoating industry doesn't want you to know. This is really important, guys. So most of the time, undercoating is a cash grab. And the reason I say it's a cash grab is because there is a situation with them trying to keep rust off of the frame. We have to look at what causes the rust. Rust is caused by moisture. Anytime moisture sits on metal, it'll rust. There's two ways to take care of that. Put your vehicle in a heated garage and it won't get rusty, or put a protection on the frame that if moisture is stuck to it, that moisture will not penetrate and get to the frame to cause rust in the first place. We can achieve this two different ways. Number one, we spray an oil on it, meaning that anytime we want to work on this thing underneath, it's going to be slimy. That oil is going to rub off. That oil is going to attract dirt and dust, and it's going to get this filmy, disgusting stuff on it. Not what I suggest for undercoatings, because if you're ever going to work on your vehicle, you're going to deal with that stuff. And it's going to get all over everything. Your hands, your clothes, new parts, it's going to smear everywhere. And you have to redo it every year. So I don't recommend that. Here's what I recommend. I recommend using a paint converter. Basically use a brush-on rust converter paint that will convert your current rust to a primer. There is one through Amazon that I'm looking at bringing to you guys here. You guys will see that in the clips in the future, but what I'll probably do for the live when I get to next month, I'm going to show you guys that product, and then I'll explain deeper what I did with my frame. This is what I suggest. The Duplicolor truck bed spray in a can. The reason I suggest this is I don't get the oily slime and I cover and protect the frame. Even if I drive through a snowbank and I scrape the bottom of my truck, this won't scrape off. Now, I have to be careful where my bolts are so I don't spray too much of this on the head of the bolt to where I can't get my socket on. That's the only bad thing about this, is this builds up too much of a layer that the bolts won't even come loose. So you do have to be careful spraying around bolts. But if you can get a good buildup on the flat part of the frames, you can clean up your frame. I'm doing that on this truck. So you guys are going to see clips of how I'm doing it, show you each step, break down how to clean it. First, you take and scratch it with a screwdriver, get as much dirt and debris out as you can. Next, you're going to take an air nozzle, blow all the dust off of the frame. Get it as clean as you possibly can. Next, try to wipe it down. Get everything wiped off the best you can. Don't spray any liquids on this. If you wash your frame, wash it and you need to let it dry for a while. You don't want to have water sitting on the frame when you start spraying this, because you're going to trap that moisture right into it. Don't do that. You want this frame as dry as possible before you start painting the frame. Once you do that, you do your rust converter, convert any rust you have to a primer. Once that primer is set, you hit it with this, build up that layer of protection so you don't rot your frame. Also, rockers and cab corners, you need to spray another chemical. I'm gonna grab that for you guys. This we will be doing on this truck as well, guys. And this is something that I found, and I went through Eastwood for it. It is internal frame coating. So this is designed to give that oily, waxy stuff that you would put in a frame or in rockers and cab corners or over your wheel wells. So your back wheel wells back there, you want to put that oily coating right over the back of the wheel well. That's what this does. It comes with a nozzle. You hook that nozzle to it, get your hose up there and just work your arm around. Come from the other side, work your way around. You'll get the box. And then on the rockers, you take the drain plugs out on the rockers. Take the drain plugs out. You'll go in through the drain plugs and just make sure you get an even coating all the way along. So I will be doing that on this truck as well. But Eastwood, internal frame coating, duplicolor, spray, and bed liner. That's what I recommend for frame coatings. It is a little overkill though, guys. And again, when you're spraying this stuff, you have to be very careful not to overdo it. It's very easy to overdo the frame coatings. All right. Got any more questions, guys? Chat them in. Okay, I wondered how you'd get it to apply. Yeah, basically you gotta clean all the dust and dirt off, get everything cleaned off. On the actual internal coatings, there's a hose that comes with it. You clip the hose on, stick it in there, make sure you know how long your hose is, and then you just back your hose out and it'll coat that part of the frame. Just make sure that you can coat 100% of the frame all the way along. So just find the holes in the frame that you need and just work your way along until you get all the way to the back. Now on the rockers, there's plugs. So this one on the bottom of the rockers, there's 4 or 5 plugs. Inside the doors, there's 2 plugs. So you pull those 2 plugs and you can cover that entire rocker. And I will be doing that to this because where I took it to get the rust prevention that costed me $500, they did a crappy job. They did 50% of the frame on an undercoating, and they did a bed liner. Bed liner was okay at best. Frame undercoating was absolutely trash. How would you do the internal coating in the wheel wells? So on Silverados, you can actually go from up underneath where the 3 wise men are. I know, that's a Christmas decoration I gotta fix. You use the hose and you stretch the hose up and go up to the center of the wheel well. You'll pull it back as you spray and drop it down and it'll coat using the hose. So you'll just reach your arm up in there, spray and pull back, and it'll coat as you pull back. And you just do that on the front of the wheel well and on the back of the wheel well. Also, you can remove your taillights and you can spray that area as well and then put your lenses back in. But that's how you do it. It comes with a hose. The hose, when you buy it from Eastwood, they'll send you the hose for spraying inside the frame. But it's also the same one you need for your rocker panels and over your wheel wells. I don't put any rust prevention up here. Instead, when I'm putting my flares on, I'm actually going to grease where the bolts go. So that way, when I run those up in there, the grease will actually keep moisture away from there. That's what I'm doing with that. So if you decide to run the stock flares, and like right now, I have the wheel liner out of this one. These are painted on the inside. I pulled my liners out so I could do my struts. And you will have to do that if you have to do struts on that 2-wheel drive. You are going to have to pull your wheel liners out. There's videos coming. I break that down bolt by bolt, clip by clip, so you'll know how to take that out. But yeah, that's how you would do the rust prevention. Any more questions? I think you're pretty solid as far as your setup goes. So I think you're gonna do pretty good with this truck. It's low miles. You're able to go in and do a lot of the maintenance that needs to be done, get it straightened out. I think it would be a good runner for you. Again, you're not going to have high horsepower. You just won't with a 4.3. Most rust I see in Ohio are the rear wheel wells, rockers, cab corners, and obviously the frame. Yep. So based on where you live, you're going to want to do this rust prevention as soon as you get the truck. As soon as you get a nice day, I would take and spray and wash your rocker panels out, spray your bed, your wheel wells out, And you can do that by removing the taillight and spraying into there. You'll wash that channel out that's in there, and then you can put your coating in. Make sure you get that dirt out of there. Don't just coat it. Don't cleaning that stuff out of there. It's got to come out before you coat it. So wash that stuff up. Wash your rockers, wash your bed rails or your wheel wells, wash your frame if you can. If you can't get the frame, then wait. So like what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to do the outside of the frame first. Then what I'm going to do is by then it should be warm enough. I'm going to back my truck up my driveway because I got a pretty steep driveway. I'm going to back my truck up the driveway and I'm going to wash the frame rails down so that it washes everything out. But get that stuff washed out of there and then let it dry for a long time. Sometimes you will want to drive the truck for a few months just to make sure it's dry, and make sure you were driving it for 2-3 weeks before you go to park it to do this project. Remember, perfectly dry, clean as you can possibly get it. That's the recipe for success. If you got a bunch of dirt and stuff built up in it, it's not going to stick. And it's just going to flake off. Then you're going to have other rust spots. So make sure you get it as clean as you can. Use the rust preventer or rust converter. Then go ahead and hit it with the bed liner and hit it with the frame protection from Eastman. And that usually gives you quite a long time on the frame of the truck. It'll last a long time. Sometimes you got to do touch-ups on it, but it's not horrible to do that. Are you going to use the internal frame coating on frame, on the inside of the frame, not the outside? So what I'm planning on doing is bed liner outside. So if I ever have to work on this truck, I don't have to worry about my hands getting covered in oily, sticky mess. But I'm going to use the internal frame coating on the inside of the frame. Yes, it is a box frame. Yep. GM went to a box frame 07, I want to say. 07 for sure. There were some parts of like the early 2000s that had a box style to it, but it wasn't a full box frame. These are a full box frame. So, yep, it's a box frame. I will be doing the internal frame coating on it because the stuff on the inside you don't ever touch. And if you do, it's on a bolt, so you're pulling it out. And if it's got a little oil on it, it'll just keep it from rusting and seizing in place. Not a big deal to me. Yes, coat the exterior and the interior. Make sure you've cleaned the frame out. Use the internal frame coating for inside the frame. Use the bed liner for the outside of the frame. And then what that does is perfectly seals off the frame. Now you still have to worry about the underside of the vehicle. You could use bed liner for that. You could use anything that'll seal that off will work. I don't like using a traditional undercoating because it is kind of oily, waxy. It does kind of flake off over time, but I don't want to waste 100 cans on the underside of my vehicle. I will if I think it absolutely needs it though. So on mine, I'm probably going to go with a different running board setup. And when I do that, I'm going to put bed liner on the underside where you can't see. What that does is keeps rock chips off the bottom of those rocker panels, which is another spot rust can come in. It's the bottom of the rockers because of the tire kick up will throw rocks against the bottom of that rocker panel, chipping the paint off. So yeah, you're going to want to definitely see my videos on how I'm doing my rust prevention. those will be coming up here a little bit later. Like I said, I'm still on the Nissan Pathfinder project. I still got stuff going on Champagne Bubbles, so. All right. You guys got any more questions? Chat them in. We've had 20 views today, 2 current. Top fan is obviously Mike today. So I wanted to give a shout out to Mike. Mike C, it's always good to have you in here. I think you are a mod. Yes, you are a mod of mine because you got a wrench. Yep. So a lot of cool chat here from one of our mods. You would think GM, Ford, Elect would have come up with a design to fix the rust issue. There is, but they're being cheap. And they could coat this stuff from the factory in something stronger than an E-coat epoxy. That E-coat wears off within a few years. It's not durable. They're making these trucks so that they barely last 10 years. Because they want you to buy new trucks. That's what it is. So it's on the owner to decide, I'm going to go ahead and add more protection to my vehicle. And that's what I'm doing, guys. I'll be stripping skid plates off. I'm going to go down as far as I need to go, and I'll show you guys all of that. You know, when you're doing a coating like this, you're going to take all the wheels off. You're going to pull your wheel liners out. You're going to get to that frame the best you can. And part of that is sometimes taking your running boards off. So that's why I said I might put a different running board on here. These are nice and they're very durable. You can stand on these all day long and not feel like you're going to break the step at all. There's 4 posts on these. Normally the extended cabs only have 3. So this has an additional post to it. That being said, there is some cooler steps that I see that are black that would kind of match my frame coating. And I'm kind of like, maybe I should. But yeah, they could. They could very easily be coating these frames from the factory in bed liner so that they're more durable. Very easily could. And if it was actually sprayed, like the full frame was stripped, no wiring on it, no suspension, no nothing, and they coated it in bed liner, then assembled the truck, all they would need to do is put rust prevention stuff in the rockers and over the wheel wells. These trucks would last 20 years as long as the mechanicals did. But it's a double-edged sword. They make the motors weak so that they fail early. They make the transmissions weak so they fail early. And they also don't provide any rust protection. So you spend 60 grand on a truck for it to rust out and fail. This has been a problem in the automotive industry for years. And yeah, I've had many conversations. Planned obsolescence, absolutely.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm usually far more composed. I'm just a little bit absolutely livid.
Yeah, I've had many conversations that have gotten pretty heated about how vehicles nowadays are just, they're made to fail. Yep. Problem in all industries anymore. Yep. It's planned to fail. They're not making things to last. Your cell phones, your vehicles, everything is just disposable. It's all meant to be thrown away. Use it, abuse it, throw it away. And honestly, for how much we spend on this stuff, it's not getting cheaper, guys. This truck, I bought this truck used. I've had it less than a year. I spent $16,000 on that truck to get one that had 118,000 miles on it, 4-wheel drive, 5.3, automatic, in really good shape. For the most part, ran pretty solid. It did have a few issues, a few ticks that were exhaust, and I was hoping it wasn't a lifter tick. After doing the plugs and wires, the tick went away. So it was somebody didn't torque down spark plugs, and that created the tick. So yeah, it's all planned. You know, the 4-cylinder mode is a very weak point on GM vehicles. And Dodge has the same problem. Huge problem in Dodge. Dodge also has lifter failure collapses that wipe cams out. Only theirs isn't the lifter collapsing, it's the roller part of the lifter failing and then shaving the lobe of the cam off. And that's all due to the MDS system that they are using. And it gets very expensive really quick when you're starting to do repairs like that. That's why a lot of people, when they start dealing with engines and those kind of failures, they usually get rid of the vehicles. They will not fix them. Because the amount of time and money they're going to have stuck in them, they would rather just drive something different. They'd rather get rid of it and drive something new. Again, that gets into the problem of people treating vehicles like they're disposable. As long as we treat them like they're disposable, to be honest with you, why would they ever build us decent cars that we could have fun with and work on? They're not going to. Because the industry isn't demanding it. And to be honest with you, there's only about, I'm going to be generous here and say 15% of the industry, but it's not. It's under 10% of the industry actually wants cars that they can work on. The average person they don't even do their own oil change, which is frustrating because honestly, oil changes are the gateway to the automotive industry, guys. You start doing oil changes, you learn real quick how to maintain a car. And you learn the reason why it's important. Most people don't even check their fluids. Mike C says, yeah, my dad had to replace his engine shortly out of warranty that I believe was due to cylinder shutdown. Yep. Very common. Almost ridiculously common. This is why when this one had over 100,000, I was nervous about the tick. Because it kind of had a tick, but here to find out, I was dealing with two different factors: exhaust leak and spark plugs that were not torqued down. That caused my tick. After I did all that, the tick went away. But yeah, GMs are notorious for the lifter tick. And once you get it, it's very, very pronounced when it's warm. I mean, you hear it, you honestly think that it's getting close to the point of a knock even. And when that happens, it's a teardown. And you're hoping that it didn't dump enough metal shavings in it to destroy the bearings. Because if it did, you are putting motor in it. And by what you just told me, that's exactly what happened. The tick got bad enough that he pretty much had to replace the engine because the bearings got wiped out by the metal shavings. Because usually when the lifters collapse, what happens is it just keeps the valves closed and it doesn't run right. It doesn't destroy the engine. What destroys the engine is all the metal shavings floating around in it and getting into the bearings. That's what chews up the motors. If you can catch it before it gets to that point, then you can just pull out the cam, put in new lifters. And at that point, if you're in that deep, I'm telling people do DOD deletes. I'm telling people to put in at least a stage 1 cam, maybe a stage 2 if you feel like doing some tuning. Do a stage 2. Texas Speed makes a really good stage 2 cam. Put in that stage 2 cam, possibly put in a set of heads, and you'll increase your horsepower by almost 100 horsepower. LS engines create quite a bit of horsepower. They don't take a ton of money to do either. Me reaching 500 horsepower on that GTO is not going to be that difficult. Might cost a little bit of money, but it's not going to be difficult. For me, the biggest problem is the bottom end. Because it's the all aluminum motor, I might choose to go with a cast iron LS block instead, because then I can get forged internals. Meaning that if I chose to throw nitrous at it, I could, but for the most part, I probably never would. And I'm going to build it in a high compression setup. I want high compression because I don't like dealing with low compression engines, because then you're forced to run turbos and superchargers. I don't like that setup. I never have. But yeah. Cool. Let's see if you guys got anything else. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and call her a day today. We had a really good day. We had 21 of you in here. Mike, top chatter today. Let's see, Mike just sent another one in. Yeah, he bought a brand new and followed the GM recommended maintenance schedule, but it still failed. I didn't ask, but I wouldn't be surprised if GM did update the schedule. Yeah, honestly, you can't go with recommended maintenance schedules. Guys, recommended maintenance schedules is 7,000 mile oil changes. On a VVT engine, variable valve timing, which is what the AFR engine is. AFR is active fuel management, 4-cylinder mode. You can't go past 4,000 miles, even if you're running a full synthetic. The reason that the engines are failing is because people are going by what the truck tells them, which is 7,000 miles on an oil change. It destroys the engine, literally destroys the engine. It gets carboned up, gummed up, the lifters plug and fail, and you're done. The only thing I think that saved this engine was they didn't update the schedule, the maintenance schedule on the truck. Honestly, 4,000 miles on an oil change is as far as you should go with modern engines. Don't ever, ever, ever go past 4. There are people who are going 7,000 miles on an oil change and their motors are ticking and sounding just horrendous. I've done oil changes on cars that I'm like, you might want to consider what you're doing here. And some people don't appreciate that and they decide to go to a different shop. And it's like, I'm not ever going to steer a customer wrong and tell them, listen, you need to do more regular oil changes. Because if you keep doing them the way you're doing them, you're going to blow the motor. They're intentionally trying to get you to wear out your car so you go buy another one. That's what they're doing. I've gone very hard on that topic in the past. Very hard. Anyone who's watched this channel for any period of time can go back and watch some of my videos. I light up all manufacturers, Ford, Dodge, Chevy, all of them. When it comes to their maintenance schedule, I get pissed because there's a lot of times they are intentionally steering customers in the wrong direction. Prime example, champagne bubbles right there. What Kia doesn't tell you is you should not be running ethanol fuel in those cars. They build up carbon deposit because of the cheap fuel. So if you're not running 91 octane, non-oxygenated, which is technically only for boats and motorcycles and muscle cars, not true, by the way. But if you're not running non-oxygenated fuel, you'll build carbon on top of the piston. That carbon creeps in, gets into the oil rings, and causes the engine to fail. That's why Kia has engine failure issues. And that's some of the issue that we're dealing with that. Yep, most people trust the manufacturer. I mean, they build the cars, so they should know, right? LOL. Yeah, Mike, you said it right there. They blindly trust the people who make the car, but here's the thing. The hard road test on cars doesn't exist anymore. When they put a new car out, oftentimes there's maybe 6 months worth of testing on a pilot car. And after that, they're slid into production. If they don't find anything in that 6 months of somebody kind of driving it, they're told not to beat on the car. They're told not to push the car. They're told not to really be aggressive with it. and they won't ever see the flaws. The cars get pushed out into production and we have to deal with it. The old school days, that car was on the road for over a year. And if you were part of the pilot program, you were told, I want to see if you can break this car. Don't crash it. Don't hit shit with it. But I want you to really rev this car up and drive it hard and drive it in heavy city driving. That was the old school way of doing it, to torture test a car before it went into production. They're not doing that anymore. They stopped that practice 20 years ago, at least 15 from what I know. I got a few insiders that told me, yeah, they're not allowed to torture test like that anymore. And then that's the problem, is they're producing cars that they don't know the weak points. They don't know where it's going to fail. They don't keep the car in production for 10 years like they used to, so that they can work out the bugs. Now, a car might only have a 5-year shelf life before they're rotating it out to the next body style. That's what's going on. Yeah, it's sad. It really is. I wish that there would be a better way. I wish they would use some of the old school techniques when torture testing these cars. They would see that their setups don't last. Yeah, very controlled environment testing. Very controlled. Oftentimes they don't let them rev them up hardly at all. They're basically told them, here, just drive this around the city. That's it. And don't drive aggressively. They have to get approved for those pilot programs, by the way. And the only way they get approved for those pilot programs, they put a device in your current vehicle and you have to drive around for a certain period of time. Sometimes it's 6 months, sometimes it's a year, sometimes it's 3 months, depending on your driving habits. They'll put you through that test period and it's either a pass or fail. If you drive aggressively, you automatically fail. They will not let you be in their pilot program for testing their new stuff. It is very tough to get into it. Yeah, and the whole reason that people would want to do that is you get a free car. Well, what they don't tell you is you get a test vehicle every so often to drive, and it's not consistent. Like, you might get a test vehicle for a month or two. You're not getting it for the full year. You're getting it for a month or two, however long they want to set that test period, whether it be 3 months. I think the highest one I saw was 6 months. And then after that, you got to wait until they do their next test. So you still have to have a vehicle if you're going to get around. They give you a test vehicle, you got to test it for them, but you got tight parameters that you can do. I really wish somebody who does this would actually chat in on this, because I've talked to a few people that I know that do this pilot program. There used to be a car show on PBS that did long-term testing. Not sure if it's still on. Yeah, there's some of that stuff is done after the vehicle's put into production, though. That's what they're not telling you. These aren't the pilot programs that I'm talking about. The pilot programs I'm talking about are done by the manufacturers. So Chevy builds a car, they give it to one of their pilot people. Pilot people are supposed to drive the car and find the weaknesses, find the flaws. Will something break? If it's going to break, what is it? How can we fix it before it goes into production to where this could cause us to have a recall? This is where Ford has failed really bad. Their recalls on Fords are horrendous because they have pretty much took their pilot program down to next to nothing. They're not testing their stuff before it goes out. There's no torture test. I mean, GM kind of does, but they still got issues because they're not letting them fully push the vehicles. They're not. And the ones that are doing the long-term tests, what they don't tell you, there is TFL. You guys know of TFL if you guys have done any kind of research on YouTube. TFL, they test vehicles, but they buy them from the manufacturer after they've gone into production. They're not getting pre-built stuff. Yeah, I don't think it was a pilot program. I think it was the vehicles were just released and the show bought the vehicle and did a year-long test. That's what TFL. Let me see if I can pull it up. Let me see if I can show you. I don't want to get too carried away because I don't want to get into censorship issue, guys. Let me see if I can pull it up quick. All right, here's their page. I'm not going to scroll too much here because copyright, you know how that stuff goes. TFL Studios, what they do, guys, they will buy trucks and they will torture test them for a year. They did one on the Colorado that I watched some of the stuff. They did a bunch of the EV testing. So that stuff was on there. That's all I want to show of them. I don't want to get into copyright issues, but they were the ones who actually do the year-long torture tests, but they buy the trucks. They're not from the manufacturer. Manufacturer isn't handing them a truck saying, tell us what's wrong with this. The pilot program does that. Pilot program is actually designed by the manufacturer. So the pilot program is literally, you are through the manufacturer, Chevy, Ford, Dodge, Toyota, whoever it is. They'll give you that vehicle. Usually it comes all masked off and you can't tell what it is. Oftentimes it looks like something else because you're testing the drivetrain, suspension, transmission, differentials. You're testing the mechanics of it and the electronics of it. You're not testing the body panels. Old school torture tests used to do some of that stuff. They would literally build the car and then hide the bumper and nose cone, like front and rear bumpers. Mike C asked, how do I get into that program? Okay, so the people that I know that I have talked to, how they got into it is first they looked into the manufacturer that they wanted to get into the pilot program with. They then reached out to, one of them reached out to an HR department to get started. The other one had a family member that worked in one of the plants, and they got in touch with the senior executives at the dealership or at the manufacturer in order to get in. Again, they all had to get approved, so they all had to be tested to find out if they were going to work for their program. And you don't, from what I understood from the two people I talked to now, again, it's all talk, so I don't know how much of that is true, but I have seen them testing vehicles. I have. I asked them, how are you paid? And they're like, we're not paid. We're just given the vehicle to test for them. And as long as everything works out, we're not charged for using the vehicle. So you don't get paid from that program. You're just given the free car to use for a short period of time. So not a moneymaker. And oftentimes they hook so much sensors up to them that even if the driver finds something, if they don't find it in the electronics in it, they don't fix it. So it has to trigger something in their sensors that they've bolted inside the vehicle. You're also not allowed to open the hoods. You're not allowed to do any service to the vehicle. It's restricted where you can bring the vehicle to get it maintained. They have to be part of that program. It's super restrictive. It's actually ridiculous because they're not torture testing anything. But I'd say if you're interested, I would start by reaching out to the probably the higher up HR department within that manufacturer that you'd want to go with. And just ask them, hey, I know you guys used to do a pilot program. Do you guys still do? And how can I be a part of that? Mike C. Oh, I would test a vehicle for free if I got a new car every so often. Sign me up. Yeah. Again, reach out to the manufacturer that you'd want to talk to. It is going to be manufacturer specific though. So oftentimes, like, they won't take open applications for this because they already have a resource within their own company to find people that are family members that work within the dealership to do this program with. Sometimes they will if you live in a very rough climate, because you could give them data that they're not going to get anywhere else. You know, the data you'll get from Arizona is nowhere near the data you're going to get from Minnesota, where it's negative 40 degrees sometimes. No, I don't think so, Mike. The reason that people failed that program to get in and get approved is because of their driving habits. If they were an aggressive driver, they got booted out immediately. Any aggression, hard braking, hard accelerating, all of it. Basically, this is what led to companies like Progressive putting in the scanners to find out if you were an aggressive driver. That's a similar test that you will go through. Is you'll have to have your own vehicle. They're going to hook one of those devices into your car, and if you show any signs of aggressive driving, you're out of the program. I could never do it. I found out what they went through to try to get in. I'm like, I can't do that. I can't. I was like, you give me a Corvette, I'm going to find out what it can do. I'm going to drive the car. And yeah, I would be out. Yeah, I would never sign up for that. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. You're not, once you're in, you're not allowed to actually get tested like you're supposed to, which is frustrating. It really is frustrating. Because if we're not testing these properly, they're going into production, and we don't find the problems until 5 years later. And that's what we're doing. We're finding out the problems far beyond in the future, and we're having to fix them in order to make the vehicles reliable again. It should not be that way. It should not be that hard, but it is. Yeah, and then the invasion of your privacy for them to put that device in your car. That's the other side of it. That's the other side of it. Yep, I agree totally. All right, so Mike, if you got anything else, go ahead, spit it out there. Otherwise, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up today. I let it go a little bit longer. We were having a really good chat here towards the tail end on the Q&A. It took me a little longer to break down this truck and where I was at because you guys have not seen any of these reels yet or any of these short videos. Not a single one on this truck other than the first stuff I did when I got it, which was the bed liner, the tonneau cover repairs, and possibly the interior lights. That's all I did to this truck in the early stages of it. One more thing. Go ahead. Spit it out there, man. Yep. So yeah, the reason it took me so long to break down, I didn't get into Q&A right away, was it took me a while to break this down. I wanted to show you guys a lot of stuff that was coming up. Just waiting for Mike to chat in his last one here. Christmas is over. I think the three wise men can go back into storage. Yeah, see, there's a project going on with that. I'm supposed to replace all the lights in it with LEDs, and then I'm supposed to get them fixed together. So that is a very important project. Aim High says, yeah, need to fix their bulbs. Yes, correct. So it's going to get fixed. That is a project I have on my list. That's one I will probably get to very soon, just so I can get them put away into storage. Yeah, they need bulbs put in them, LED bulbs. And then the three wise men are actually going to get fixtured together on a channel bar so that I can just pick up the whole structure and set it down. And then I'm going to get the plugins set up so that it's in a good spot. You're slacking, man. Yeah. I knew that doing the Christmas decoration stuff takes a little bit of time. I have to figure out how long the bolts are going to be so that I can keep snow from getting underneath them. I also have to support them, so I'm piecing together the structure that I need to build these. Honestly, it could take me a few weeks to do this project because I'm trying to figure out how I want all the pieces to sit. I literally want it to be one structure that I pick up and set down. It just makes it a lot simpler when trying to put Christmas decorations out. Last year I did the stable. You guys didn't see this, but my stable had a wood, it was an all wood stable, one of the small ones that only housed like Joseph, Mary, and baby Jesus. That setup, the manger was starting to fall apart because the wood pieces were attached with a rubber or with a vinyl strap. The vinyl strap started to fail. It was a cheap leather vinyl-ish strap, and I took those out and I put hinges on it. So now it has stock hinges that are metal that won't fall apart. And by the time they fall apart, the wood's going to be rotten through. So it is a permanent fix. But yeah, I do that kind of stuff on the side too, guys. It isn't just automotive. Trust me. Oh, that's not fair, man. Oh, you're asking the one that I have to answer to there. That's kind of cruel, man. I don't think it's going to be March or April, but it's definitely going to be for the next few weeks. You guys will see them probably all the way through until the summertime, because when I do my shorts, they might be in the background for some of the shorts. So some of the shorter videos, they might still be there. So that's not fair, but yeah, couple weeks. Like I said, I'll show you. So I bought this a while ago. What I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out my length. I'm going to cut this off, and then I'm going to take another one and make a cross pattern, run a bolt through it. Then I'm going to bolt one to each end of these on the cross, too, one on each end. So I'll have 4 almost in a circle. But where I put this bracket will matter, because where I put it, I'm going to have to put a position that holds the piece up, because I want this to sit flat, but then I'm going to run a bolt down so that the bolt is resting on the ground. That way, if we get a lot of ice and snow, it's easy for me to lift this up out of the ice and snow. I don't want this bar getting froze to the ground, so I'm going to use bolts. Again, this is the structure I had to put into my head to figure out how I'm going to do it. But it starts with this being the frame. Then I'm going to get a bunch of bolts and bolt this whole frame together in the shape that I need. And then once I have those bolts together, then I need to put pedestals on each character to hold them in place. I know it's not automotive, but you guys brought it up. You had to ask, so I figured I would explain myself. But yeah, that's the plan with this. But yeah, not fair if you guys see them in the short videos. Now, if you guys see it at the end of February and they're still sitting there, by all means, you can rip into me then. By then, I should have had it done. At least them characters. I still got the other characters on the other side of the vehicle. Some of those characters, it's just replacing the bulbs. That's all it is. So they're going to probably go into storage a lot quicker. This setup is going to take me a bit, though. So, give you guys a little bit of time to chat in anything else before I wrap her up here. Went a lot longer today because, yeah, I've been trying to get the information out to you guys on everything. Trying to build this up. I usually take a month off, so that's why I'm going a little bit longer today, too. I normally take a month off starting the week of Christmas all the way through January. I don't usually restart up until the end of January. I have my reasons for it. It's kind of a personal time for me and my family. So we don't really do a lot during that time. I've always taken that time off from YouTube and from Facebook even. I'm also on Facebook, same name and everything. I got a page on there. Pretty much all the stuff you guys see here on YouTube, I post over there too. So it's pretty much the same. I don't do lives over there though. I don't. I'm not getting paid enough to bother doing it over there. If they started paying better, I probably would. I got more followers over there than I do over here. It's a lot harder to gain followers here. Or subscribers. Subscribers here, followers over there. Well, thank you, Mike. I enjoy doing these streams. I really do. I enjoy having the time to talk with you guys, show you guys the projects, kind of cover everything. I wish I could do this every weekend, but my weekends get so jam-packed with trying to get stuff done that if I streamed every single Saturday, I wouldn't get anything done. Saturday is my one main day to crack through a lot of the big projects. So for the next 3 weeks, I'm going to be hammering to get the suspension in this, get the frame coated, get everything put back on the truck, get the wheel liners put in, fender flares put on, get all that stuff put back on this truck. So my goal is hopefully by end of February, this truck is already back down on the ground and possibly out the door driving. And then, yeah, I'm looking at expanding and starting to open up for customers too. Some of it was I wanted to get this truck done, so I knew I could go pick up customer stuff. If I can't get to the customer or get the customer's vehicles to me, it's kind of hard for me to open up fully to taking in customers on a bigger basis. I currently do take customers. The Nissan Pathfinder was not mine, guys. That was a customer. The Honda that you guys saw in here, not mine. That was a customer's. So I do some customer stuff, but I'm not advertising the business. And some of that is I needed to have a truck that I could go pick stuff up with or pick up customer vehicle stuff with. So that's why it's getting done now. The GMC Jimmy is not good enough to go do that stuff. Not even close. Pick up parts, yes. Go pick up cars that are stalled out or need to be fixed. No, I can't do that. Not with that. It's not heavy enough. But all right, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this Saturday. We do this the last Saturday of every single month. We will do a live. It's just to bring you guys up to date, show you some behind the scenes things, and you guys get to see the sneak peek. You guys are seeing behind the curtain. That's why I do this. It's to show you guys the behind the curtain stuff that you guys won't get to see until much, much later. Oh, aim high. That was not fair. Actually, it kind of was. I deserve that one. I do. Yeah. I said one bookshelf before winter ends, so I have to keep to that one. But it's been about 2 years on the bookshelves. I got to admit it. Yeah, I've been slow on some of the house projects. I have been trying to put too much into getting things going for the automotive stuff here. The channel, I have to be 100% honest. I've been putting certain things above what I should be, and taking care of the stuff in the house. I gotta own that L, and it's a big one. I've drugged my feet way too long on some of the house projects. No, I can take the truth. I deserve it. I really do. I put myself in a position that I did it to myself. So. But yeah, that's what's going on. Finding the balance is tough. It can be. It comes down to priorities too. You know, you gotta put things in their proper place. I got lazy on the bookshelves. It was just, at the time I was healthy, I could have hauled them upstairs, but I can't do it or I couldn't do it for like the last year because I had a shoulder injury at work. Not this job, my job that pays my bills. Got a shoulder injury. I can't talk about it too much because I've signed non-disclosures about it. But I had a really bad work injury that basically made it hard for me to do anything for about a year. My shoulder is healing. It is getting better. I still have to be careful with it though. I can only put certain pressure in certain directions. It's just the way it's always going to be. I can't ever fix that. I had an option for surgery and I chose not to do it because the surgery was pretty risky. And if it didn't work, I was going to be in way worse shape than if I just learned to deal with the pain for the short term. So I sucked it up and dealt with the short-term pain, which was excruciating, by the way. Torn muscles are absolutely horrible pain. But yeah, fair. I gotta own my L's on that. So, yeah, between those things back there and that bookshelf, I now have probably bitten off a full weekend's worth of work, but honestly, it does need to happen and it is important. So that's all right. It's all part of doing the process of things. You know, you try to focus on what you can get done. Try to work in a way that you don't hurt yourself, though. That's the other thing. The last thing I want to do is be working on this truck and have this truck fall on me or have it hit me in a way that puts me out of work from my main job. And anytime we do repairs in the garage, safety is always number one. You guys will always hear me talk about safety and how to do things the safe way. Because the 1 minute we don't is the 1 minute we're going to regret it. And you don't get second chances. When something weighs this much, not having jack stands underneath it or putting it on something unstable, making sure things aren't where they need to be, you get one chance to get it right. And when you get it wrong, it's disastrous. So I've had vehicles that have shifted off of jack stands, put in improper places, jack stands put in dirt and then they shift. Yeah, crazy stuff. It got to the point there were some people I didn't want to work on vehicles around because I didn't feel comfortable that they were going to be safe. And now I am the one who makes sure that stuff is done right. And anything that comes into my garage, it's done to where I feel safe. Because if I don't feel safe, it's not coming in. And it's just, that's the way it has to be. All right, everybody. I'll give you guys one more chance to do any more digs on me before I go ahead and wrap this stream up, but fair enough. I do deserve it. Thank you guys for chatting in on today. It was really good. Got to spend some time with you guys, get you guys caught up. I'll bring you guys some sneak peek stuff and also kind of give you guys a layout of the land when it comes to Big Red. Big Red needs to fit its name. It's not Big Red if we don't make it bigger. So that's part of the process here. I don't want it to look ridiculous. I'm not going to put a 6-inch lift on a truck and then not be able to get it in my garage. Kind of defeats the purpose. I could go to a 4. Don't know if I really want to do that. It adds a bunch more cost and I really don't want to play that game. LOL, more digs today. Thanks again. No problem, Mike. We'll chat at you next time. Guys, next time will be, actually, let me just pull up a calendar. This stupid thing. I'll do it this way. I want to give you guys a date. It's only fair. So February 28th, we will be back with another live. Hopefully a lot more stuff done. Those better not be sitting there. And yeah, we'll be good to go for the next either project or where we're at as far as wrapping this project up. My plan is to get this thing done frame-wise, down on the ground, and figure out if I'm going to go that other extra inch of lift. I can't do that until the front is completely done. Can't do that until I get this frame done. So, a lot of things to do in the next 3 weeks. I'm going to grind away as hard as I possibly can and try to make my time count the best I can. Obviously, if I want to start doing more customer stuff, I need to free up my garage so I can start doing their stuff. And this is all part of the process when you start building a business. I might even do a video, a live on how to build a business too, just to give you guys kind of information. But guys, thank you for tuning in on this Saturday. This was our new project, Project Silverado, which is Big Red 2013 Chevy Silverado. And we've got a lot more coming, so make sure you guys hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you get notified when I do lives or when I drop new videos, and I'll see you on the next.